Former Prime Minister of Japan Shinzo Abe was an efficient statesman and a strong Japanese at heart who carried forward the legacy of his country and its people. Abe, who was the spine of his country, grabbed the world's attention when he showed criticism for his country's pacifist constitution. Having witnessed the horrors of 2 nuclear attacks, an exhausted Japan formulated a constitution that made it unlawful for Japan to raise its military. Moreover, Article 9 capped the defense expenditure of the country at just 1% of the GDP. Just 2 years after assuming the PM's office, Abe went on to set in motion the most significant break from Article 9 to date. In 2014, Shinzo Abe reinterpreted Article 9. The move made the Japanese self-defense forces more powerful and assertive, and that is exactly what made the G7 leaders hate Abe's guts. Hi and welcome to TFI Global. I'm your host Atul Mishra. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the share button and press the bell icon to get all the latest updates. If you're watching us on Facebook, do like the video and subscribe to the page. You can also download our video apps. The link is in the description section. In a shocking development, no head of state of G7 countries visited Japan for Shinzo Abe's funeral. Japan is an integral part of the G7 grouping along with influential parties like Germany and the USA. It would be wrong to assume that the G7 states have a troubling relationship with Japan. The USA-led grouping acclaimed Tokyo as an efficient counter to the growing influence of China in the region. However, the current leaders in Washington and Europe were opposed to the foreign policy adopted by Shinzo Abe, and that is why they shamelessly avoided attending the state funeral, thereby disrespecting the people of Japan. Joe Biden, the President of the United States, dispatched his no-good deputy Kamala Harris to the event and highlighted how little Japan meant to him. The Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, on the other hand, tried to play smart and cancelled his plans to visit the funeral at the very last minute. Shinzo Abe was a strong and unapologetic leader who believed in the bright future of Japan. Tokyo had a historic shift in foreign policy under his regime. Abe tried to normalize relations with Japan's historic rival Russia, and that is exactly what triggered Washington. President Vladimir Putin and Prime Minister Shinzo Abe met at the end of 2018 to continue peace treaty talks between Russia and Japan, hence raising the prospects of ending the abnormal state of relations that has existed between the nations since the Soviet Union declared war on Japan in August 1945. Abe also endeavored to engage with the Russians on the issue of the southern Kuril Islands. Abe believed in benefiting from closer ties between Moscow and Tokyo. Japan is dependent upon Washington for its defense, and Russia could have become a balancing counter against American hegemony in the time of need. The Shinzo Abe administration was also actively engaged in supporting the involvement of Japanese companies in the development of the Russian Far East. On the other hand, Abe fitted perfectly into the West's agenda to curtail China. As a result, Abe could carry out his plans with minimum interference from the West. However, it seems like Washington thinks that Russia is a far bigger threat than China. G7 leaders didn't attend Abe's state funeral just because he had closer ties with Russia and had an optimistic approach towards the future of both countries. G7 nations do not want to show their support for Abe's attitude today because of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict and their support for Ukraine. But you see, Beijing is within US bounds only until it develops enough capabilities to take on Taiwan. Many members of the G7 grouping like the US, Germany, Italy and France are part of the influential bloc within NATO, and they are reportedly getting into bed with China. Jens Stoltenberg, NATO's Secretary General, said that China plays an important role in global issues. He said China has no genes for external expansion and has never invaded other countries, engaged in proxy war, sought spheres of influence, exported ideology, interfered in other countries' internal affairs, or participated in military blocs. Not influencing the internal affairs of any country, China has done nothing but only try to influence the politics of foreign states by extending foreign loans through its BRI project. NATO's alienation of Japan by mingling with the Chinese in itself a disrespect towards late Shinzo Abe. If Abe had left something in improving Japan-Russian relations, this move of NATO will fill that gap. It will bring Japan closer to Russia now, as it has realized that Washington cannot be trusted.